6th of 2022, ending June 30th, 2022. And then sort of a back-to-back term, she's finishing out one unexpired term, and then also being appointed as both for the next 2-year term. A peer report, as we always do on our. So, Miss Massey, welcome. Can you hear us?
I can. It's kind of spotty, so hopefully.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. I apologize for the early morning nature of the Zoom call this morning, but if you would just tell us a little bit about yourself and about your vision for serving on the Crime Stoppers Advisory Council and what you think you bring to that committee.
Sure. My name is Lori Ramsey Massey. I'm a 7th generation Jackson County resident. I have 3 children, and I'm married to Kirk, and he has been an Ingalls employee for 39 years. I serve on the Crime Stoppers USA National Board as secretary, and recently I served as regional director for the programs in Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana. So it's kind of like a go-between liaison between the national organization for those states. I have worked for Mississippi Coast Crime Stoppers since 2014 as an employee. And basically I run the day-to-day operations of the program. I'm the only employee because we can't afford another one, but we're working on that for maybe with grants. I see the vision that for best practices, I like to spread best practices for Crime Stoppers because, you know, we are all nonprofits, and just to ensure that we keep our tipsters anonymous, because if our tipsters are not anonymous, we have no program and no one is sending tips to law enforcement. So that's really the whole premise of Crime Stoppers. Is it's a tool that law enforcement and the public can use to send anonymous information to law enforcement. Like, just take for instance, yesterday Lamar Advertising is a great community partner with us, and we have a billboard in Gulfport for someone who is wanted for sexual assault and kidnapping of a victim in Gulfport. Just today, we've already received a tip on him, and hopefully he can be taken off the streets because he's been wanted since September. So that's what Crime Stoppers on the Coast does. We're very proactive. We have great partnerships with all our law enforcement agencies. They respect us, we respect them, and we have more social media followers than any law enforcement agency on the coast. We've worked very hard to build that up, and we do cover 7 counties on the coast. So that's a little bit about me, and I thank you for the opportunity to serve the state of Mississippi that I love so much.
Lloyd, for all you're doing already. Any questions or comments by committee members?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly you can tell that Ms. Massey is fully qualified, and 30-year Ingalls employee and 7th generation Jackson. You don't get much more Jackson County than that. So she does good. And Crime Stoppers, I've been to their meetings. They actually have great event where they honor their folks. So I would certainly recommend her to the highest degree.
Awesome. Anybody else?
Advise and consent.
All right, the motion is that we do advise and consent. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The ayes certainly have it. Thank you so much. We appreciate your service to our state. And we'll be forwarding this on to the full Senate. Thank you very much.
And I want to tell Pat, I know she probably left the room, but I just want to tell her thank you for coordinating me staying home.
She's right here, so you can tell yourself. Yeah,
she
just walked in the door.
avoid that. Pat, I want to tell you thank you for allowing me to stay home and avoid that 6-hour round trip so that I can assist law enforcement in catching our bad guys on the coast. Thank you.
Have
You
a
can
great
stay
day.
off Highway 49. That's always a
That's
good
a plus. That's a plus. All right. Thanks, Lori.
Bye-bye.
All right. Our next nominee is Miss Anna Ward. Is it pronounced Sukman or Sukman?
Yes.
Sukman. And this is a niece, I understand, of our friend and former colleague, Senator Giles Ward. So we won't hold that
Well,
against
I was just going to say.
We won't hold that
Denied.
You know, changed everything.
Yes, he and my dad were.
Well, that's okay. I've got twins and they're nothing alike either. So, all right. So, if you would, this is for a 2-year term effective January 6th, 2022 through June 30th, 2022, replacing Mr. Doug Adams, and then for a term of your own from July 1st of 2022 ending June 30th of 2024, also for the Crime Stoppers Advisory Council. So we have a peer report as we have it in front of us. The members certainly are able to look through that and found no derogatory information whatsoever. So, Anna, if you will just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you would like to serve on this Crime Stoppers Advisory Council.
Okay, great. Well, I have served on the Coast Crime Stoppers for served as the board attorney. Volunteer position, and I didn't have the malpractice insurance. So I've been with the Attorney General's office March 6th. Left the office, but I'm up here in Jackson. And I am
Questions by committee members? All right, Sir Thompson.
Mr. Sukman, oh, you listed Kevin Felcher. Representative Kevin Felcher
that sure is.
from the House of Representatives.
Yes, it is. It is.
I want to reconsider who your running mates are.
Senator Wiggins.
I was going to ask about Giles and what you can tell us about the deep, dark secret that he has.
I
But
can't give you any.
I would say, Mr. Chair, I know Anna personally. She works hard, not only hard, but she's a great lawyer, and I think she's certainly in the right position, and I think she comes highly qualified. And despite the references that she has put down, I think she would do well. So my motion would be to advise and consent.
Comment.
I did just want to speak on Anna's behalf for 1 second here. I've known Anna for about 10 years when I was president of Jackson County Young Lawyers Association, which I don't think we're young lawyers anymore.
Yeah, we are.
We consider ourselves that way, but Anna was always there and present and willing to help. And I've just always found her to be just one of the brightest lawyers on the coast, and her reputation is impeccable amongst us coast lawyers, and even here in the state now that you're up here a good bit. So I'm proud to see that you've been nominated for this position, and I guess I'll second Senator Wiggins' motion that we do advise and consent.
Well, and I just want to say it's tough work that you do, and I appreciate you being willing to do it, because I know you could do a lot of other things that would bring a lot more compensation to you and your family, but this is certainly a public service, and we certainly appreciate the qualified people like you doing that, and we certainly appreciate Senator Giles Ward. So with that, I think we have a motion that we do advise and consent in a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. The ayes certainly have it. Thank you very much for being here this morning, and we'll be forwarding your nomination onto the full Senate. Absolutely. All right, then we have two that are reappointments. So we did not ask them to come this morning. Mr. Christopher Wade, Chris Freeze from Ridgeland, Mississippi, Also to the Crime Stoppers Advisory Council for a 2-year term effective immediately and ending June 30th of 2023. And I think you see his peer report again. And we're at it just a second. It certainly found no derogatory information regarding Mr. Freeze. Does anyone want to speak on that nomination? Consent, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And then final nomination, Dr. Robert Edward Bobby Fox of Perkinston, Mississippi. A lot of coasties today, all right? Crime Stoppers, there's a lot of crime down there now. Crime Stoppers Advisory Council.
Well, look who's elected.
Yeah, that's true. So true for now. Okay, so let's see. And again, I have flipping here through the tier. For information found regarding Dr. Fox, he needs help with applications. So I move that we do advise consent on that nomination as well. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And okay, then we got Mississippi, also reappointment. And again, the reason you see these double nominations like 123 and 124, sometimes when people aren't able for whatever reason to finish out their term, then the governor or lieutenant governor or speaker, whoever gets the appointment, will appoint someone to finish out the last few months of the previous term that has now expired, or the person's gone, but they don't want them to just have to serve for a few little months, and so they will let them finish out someone else's term and then reappoint or appoint them for a full term themselves. So you have the back-to-back Senate nominations. It's the same person, same job, just for a piece of an old term and then a full term back-to-back. So that's what that one's about. Have y'all had a chance to look over that one? And the motion that we do advise against on this nomination, also all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And then finally, we have a suffrage bill. Senate full sheet, or it may be in your full packet. I'm not sure, but it's separate. Okay. And I think we have the sponsor of this this bill with us this morning, Senator Tink, if you will, if you'd like to speak to your bill.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Harvey Scott Haney, in 2007, was convicted of receiving stolen property. Receiving stolen property is one of our disenfranchising crimes. Since then, he paid his restitution off early. He was taken off probation early. He hasn't had any run-ins with the law since then. I've spoken with multiple police departments in Clark County. They all kind of say the same thing, that he's lived a productive, quiet life, and that he's, involved in the community. And I'd like to quote our sheriff down there who sent me this email yesterday. Sheriff Todd Kemp, he said, "I've known Mr. Haney most of his life. He was young when he got in some trouble. In the last 10 years, he's gotten married and he's been a productive citizen. He's a member of the volunteer fire department, is involved in his community." And I would just like to also add that he is the assistant chief of the Feedville Volunteer Fire Department and has served in that role for the last 2 years. I'd be happy to take any questions.
And let me just say this, generally speaking, we haven't done a lot of bills. In fact, there weren't a lot of suffrage bills filed this year. I think less than 5. What the Lieutenant Governor's Office, and correct me, Holly, if I'm misstating something, has given guidance on suffrage bills to the committee is that he doesn't believe in doing suffrage bills at this time that deal with embezzlement of public funds and none for violent offenders. So of the 4 bills that have been filed this session thus far on the Senate side, this is the only one that deals with something that's not in those 2 categories of a violent offense or a embezzlement crime. So again, I know there weren't that many filed in the first place, but just to sort of answer any questions of why this one and why not some other one, that is the guideline I've been given, and the others do not fall into one that would be brought forward. So, Senator Thomas.
Since you opened that back to Mr. Chairman, did they give you any instructions on the time frame I have something that's over 40 years ago. So that
You know, I'm happy to visit with any individual senator and to speak with the lieutenant governor with you about those. I'm just trying to comply with the instructions that I've been provided. But certainly, I think length of time since a crime was committed certainly is a very mitigating factor that ought to be considered. And if it's been a long time with no issues since that time, that certainly should warrant
I'm just sharing
in favor.
my thoughts. I have a minister.
I'm happy to go with
Now
you.
he's a local minister, so
Yeah. I'm happy to go with you to visit with the lieutenant governor and make that happen.
and I have one question about this.
Sure. Justin,
He was prior to this, but that's not disenfranchising crime, and I'm not speaking on that. This was receiving stolen property, which happened after the fact, and just speaking on.
so I think the
how he's
answer is
lived.
yes, but that did not cause him to lose his voting rights. That's not one of the crimes that causes you to lose your voting right. Senator Barnett.
Wouldn't violent.
Armed robbery is considered a violent crime. I don't know that.
I thought burglary.
All of this brings up the issues that we have every year in doing suffrage bills. And yes, the prosecutors and the law has treated burglary of a residence as a violent crime. And we've had bills that have tried to change that and haven't made it through for various reasons. If my recollection is correct, under 9732, which is the violent crime statute, residential burglary is listed as a violent crime. May I continue, Mr. Chairman? I'm voting because I heard what Senator Tate said for this suffrage. But this committee, having been chairman, but also a member, has taken into consideration these multiple chances. And in this case, to answer your question, based on reading the MDOC, he was actually sentenced to burglary, put on probation, got on probation. He didn't complete probation. He then was revoked to a 10-year sentence. It looks like he served 4. And then he did receiving stolen property. And, that's the debate that this committee has. And I guess I feel like Senator Blunt, because Senator Blunt a couple years ago had this speech. Is what do we do on suffrage bills? Because this is the issue that comes up. And with Senator Tate, I will say that there's probably members on the floor that will, if we pass this, that will have these questions about this. But I remember, I'm sorry, I'm in a pontificating mood. But we had a bill, I think it was filed by Senator Butler. It came to the floor about attempted murder from 30 to 40 years ago. It was vigorous debate, and ultimately the majority passed it, but you have to have 2/3 to restore the suffrage. And by all accounts, he was a tremendous guy. He was a minister, and it really spoke to me. And I have no reason to think this guy's not. He has, but this raises the question about where we are. And I remember under Brian talked about what is the guidelines? Can we come up with legislation? I don't know. That's so all that to say that I think this raises that burglary is a violent offense based on the law that we have now. We do consider that, but I think that's why it's important to have the person here. And we do it on an individual basis. And if Senator Tate is willing to vouch for him, then I think it's, I'm certainly voting. but I think it raises the issues that.
These are always tough bills.
And this isn't anybody's fault. I noticed that the bill doesn't talk about the criminal history, but that's probably because only, like you said, only the one crime is disenfranchised. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you for that insight. Senator Barnett.
Yes, I don't know if this would be considered past 6, 7 years, you know. Down and asking to restore the rights. Because we feel like they don't deserve a second chance.
I think we have passed several bills over the past few years in that vein of criminal justice reform that have sought to give people second chances. Not every bill, but certainly more than a lot of people thought we ever would. So I recognize your point. And we may not do this. I mean, I'm bringing it forward for a vote. That doesn't. This, the wisdom of this body and this committee. I think this bill met the requirements set out by the Lieutenant Governor. So that is why this bill is being brought up today. There are others that haven't been brought up and probably won't be brought up based on that guidance. So,
Mr. Chairman, I have a follow-up question.
Sure, you're recognized.
Do this one follow the Lieutenant Governor's instruction?
Yes.
It does.
Yeah, I submitted it to him yesterday, and he
With
said,
because with the copy I have shows burglary,
franchising crime.
but it still shows that was a violent crime.
That was not the crime. It's the issue of this bill.
And the reason I'm kind of keep hounding in,
Sure.
I want us to be consistent.
The point of this bill, the disenfranchising crime, was receiving stolen property. So that is the subject to why he lost his voting rights and why the senator has filed a bill to restore those voting rights. If people voting in favor of that, then of course.
I just guess wanted to clarify to what Senator Barnett was saying. I mean, actually, before Senator Tate walked in here, I was going to vote against this because it's 3 chances: burglary, didn't complete probation, folks, then committed another crime, and all that. But I think it goes to the point of, you know, we know the people in our communities, but that also what makes this hard about doing all this stuff. So I think he's got more than 2 chances, to be honest. And there are others. And talk about consistent. I know that there have been other case suffrage bills that probably have been voted down with less of a history. But that, again, that goes to what happens every year is the consistency, the inconsistency, if you will, of the suffrage process. We're not going to solve that today, but you know, it's an issue. So, and maybe that's how it has to be, is that on an individual basis. And so, it has been more than 2 chances, but I'm willing to go with Senator Tate.
Comments, Senator DeBoer. That's criminal law, y'all. Some of y'all do it here. I do not. Anybody else? It appears that we're dealing with several different people on this.
And that before we take a vote, then maybe.
I move that we table subject to call the chair.
All right, so the motions we laid the bill. Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The ayes have it. All right, motion to rise and report.